Alright, how's it going, guys? Today I am quite excited because the video I'm responding to today is yet another Garaa0fTheRage video. Now, if you remember the video I made back in June, then you can probably guess why, I'm a little hyped, dude. Not only can I grift views off of this video, but I can also get a chance to revisit the past a bit and make another video on my favorite personal lolcow and copy and paste console war YouTuber Garaa. And if you didn't see the video I made back then, the TLDR, as the quarter pounder would say, is that his audience found my video and sent it to him, and he even watched it. So yeah, dude, that really made me feel like a real big boy in the YouTube sphere. Anyway, the video today is titled Resident Evil Requiem was ruined by this autistic freak, says Synthetic Man. So yeah, guys, grab your McDonald's, grab your 3-liter bottle of soda, grab whatever slop you have on hand, because we're just gonna get right into this shit.
I want to preface this review by stating that this is not, in fact, a negative review. I'm saying this right up front because I just know there's going to be a bunch of tourists who click on this video, immediately dislike, and write a stupid comment without even listening to 30 seconds. No, believe it or not, I did enjoy this game.
1 hour later.
And I definitely think it's worth mentioning, even though I'm not really a huge story guy when it comes to Resident Evil because they've been ridiculous for a long time. I have to say, this might be the worst story in the entire series. Not only is it a clusterfuck and confusing, but it also retcons several of the older games in the series for absolutely no reason.
He's dumb!
Looks like we're off to a great start, dude, because Garaa has absolutely no listening comprehension, which, yeah, very shocking if you've seen the previous video. Yes, in a video game, keyword there, the story can be bad while still thinking the actual game itself is decent or even good. And the game is actually pretty fun, or at least the Leon section, shit pacing aside. But again, a bad story does not mean a bad game, unless, the game is a movie game, I guess. As we know, though, Garaa is not exactly the sharpest tool in the shed, to put it nicely, so we'll likely see more of this in the video. I'm gonna let you guys in on a little secret, so just get real close. Those fair use disclaimers don't actually do anything, by the way. But maybe if I tell YouTube that trans visibility is valid, well, maybe that'll actually have an effect on this video.
I put a good hour of my lifetime into this review by Synthetic Man.
And probably around 1 second of thought into your response as well.
On the Resident Evil 9 game, or is it Resident Evil Requiem? I get confused. Whatever you guys want to decide to call it, you know exactly what game I'm talking about.
Well, if you ask me, and personally, I would prefer if you call it Resident Evil Requiem, because when you say RE9, I just get a little confused and I don't know what game you're talking about. So to accommodate me, please call it Requiem, because I have a disability called being retarded.
And let me tell you something. I watched it all the way through. I watched it from beginning to middle and end, and I caught some interesting takes Synthetic Man had on the game. And I thought to myself, I can make a video out of this.
What you really thought is, I can get views out of this, which don't worry, bro, I'm a grifter too.
So if you want to help me with my sanity, please leave a like and hype up the video, because you know what? That's the only way it gets out into the algorithm these days. I know, it's stupid. I hate asking you guys to do it, but it's the only way to get it done.
C-A-P
Yeah, no, I'm calling cap on that one. Lil Bro is really out here acting like Darkside Phil, shaking his tin cup and being like, "Sir, will you please spare a quarter?" Yeah, no, there's obviously no shame in asking for likes and subs and all that, but just be honest about it. Don't act like you hate asking for it.
So without further ado, please make sure to grab yourself a nice little drink and a nice little snack, and we're just gonna go ahead and dive right into the content.
Oh yeah, dude, I definitely know I've got all of my slop ready for this video.
I think it's important to clarify that creatively bankrupt does not mean bad. Believe it or not, I don't even think most Ubisoft games are bad, and most of them are creatively bankrupt.
That does not make sense at all. Are you kidding me right now? Do you know that means that the creativity is gone?
Look, here's
We're
the
gonna
thing.
be fine. Listen,
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
Well, unless you have the IQ of a fetus, which, let's be honest, Gaara probably does have, I'd say it makes perfect sense. I mean, let's just look at remakes as an example. At their core, I would say those types of games are inherently creatively bankrupt, but there are still a lot of fun video game remakes out there, so no, I mean, creatively bankrupt does not inherently mean that a game is bad. It just means that there's really no creativity behind it.
Like you said in your own review that the varying monster types in this game is severely lacking. So isn't that kind of a bad thing then?
Well, yeah, no shit, that's a bad thing, but a game can be bad in one category while the overall game is still pretty good. Like Final Fantasy VII Remake, for example, has a pretty shitty story, but the gameplay is still pretty fun in that game.
it just means that the game has no innovation whatsoever. Resident Evil Requiem, to me, is Capcom just throwing their hands up. They have no idea how to appeal to the Resident Evil fan base anymore, so they decided to make 2 games in one.
Then being creatively bankrupt is a bad thing then. That's the way you're treating this segment right here. I'm confused. Somebody clarify in the comment section.
Very funny joke, I know, but to the point. Do you honestly need it spoon-fed to you? Yes, he is in fact saying that being creatively bankrupt is a bad thing. Again, this does not mean the game itself is bad. It's really not hard to wrap your head around, but then again, we are dealing with Gaara here, so maybe it is.
Also, too, the Resident Evil fan base has grown so big that there is a mixture of people that enjoy the action side and the survival side. They tried something new, and lo and behold, a lot of people like it, like including me.
That's fine to include both action and horror in the game. RE4 did this over 20 years ago, and it still holds up really well. The problem with RE9 is that it tries to mix both slow-paced horror and fast-paced action on the same tier as RE6 into one campaign, and let's just be honest for a moment, it genuinely feels fucking awful to replay. Not to mention the orphanage section. I'm not inherently against the idea, but they should have just made it 2 separate campaigns instead of one disjointed campaign. The more Capcom tries to appeal to both at the same time, the more people they'll just piss off instead.
Now, I'm sorry that you don't like it, Synthetic Man, but hey, that's how shit goes, man.
I know this sounds crazy, but some of us can actually criticize the games we play.
You've basically already seen everything this game has to offer outside of a few superfluous mechanics. Well, and one objectively bad gameplay addition, stealth mechanics.
But wait, the stealth mechanics work perfectly fine with Grace. She's not experienced as like Leon, Chris, Ada, Jill. She's not an experienced fighter with these zombies. Why they should give her like this full-blown Leon segment? It wouldn't make sense. It would turn her into, oh wait, I know where this is going.
So why did Ethan play completely fine in RE7 then? He wasn't an experienced fighter either, right? And I also have to mention that they only gave Grace 2 guns, which are the pistol and the Magnum. And yes, technically, there are 2 pistols, but that's still the same type of gun. And what would that happen to remind me of? Shadows of Rose, where Rose only gets 2 guns, which are the pistol and the shotgun. And Shadows of Rose also happen to be complete shit, but that's besides the point.
They want to turn Resident Evil into The Last of Us. It is so apparent.
You're pathetically predictable. Like a moth to the flame.
For anybody that enjoys The Last of Us or The Last of Us 2, don't take what I'm about to say too serious. This is directly to Synthetic Man.
Yeah, and here's the average Last of Us 2 enjoyer.
Synthetic Man, it's been 5 years, dude. The last time it's like there's a sequel to the Last of Us series, okay? At this point, the series is practically dead. I mean, come on. The TV series is about to have its season 3 already versus the video game is not getting its other iteration at all. There's no sign of it.
This guy is fucking stupid!
No, Gara, the point being made is that Resident Evil is getting closer to having Last of Us mechanics, just like what was done with God of War. Isn't that very interesting? It's like this guy hears someone say something, and there's no processing time. He just spits out a response. Wonder who that reminds me of.
And yeah, the normie tourists, the people who love the Fallout TV show, eat this shit up, absolutely.
Are you seriously still upset at the fact that you were wrong on that review of yours and everybody just dogpiled your ass? What a surprise.
You mean the Fallout TV show that actual Fallout fans completely hated? Well, all I have to say to that is cope, seethe, and dilate, just like Tipster.
It's one thing if it's like, okay, you know, like I'm not gay and that's fine. But like to have that kind of like knee-jerk reaction because you found out that you're watching a streamer who's like queer, it's like, okay, that's kind of like, that's an over-the-top reaction, don't you think?
And I definitely think it's worth mentioning, even though I'm not really a huge story guy when it comes to Resident Evil, because they've been ridiculous for a long time. I have to say, this might be the worst story in the entire series. Not only is it a clusterfuck and confusing, but it also retcons several of the older games in the series for absolutely no reason.
Excuse me, what?
Okay, some of the retcons that they did in the story, yeah, I kind of agree with you. Like Raccoon City over here.
Okay, he actually does bring up a good point. It doesn't really make sense how the RPD in Raccoon City was still standing when in RE3 it was shown to be completely destroyed. Although then again, I guess the remake retcons the original game, but that being said, yeah, I can actually agree with that. I don't really think it makes any sense.
Secondly, the worst story? Oh no. No. Tell me you've never played Resident Evil 6.
It's not really a high bar, to be fair.
Oh, and the member berries, dude. Half this fucking game is member berries. Some of the references are subtle, but some are so on the nose and in your face. It's supposed to be on purpose. It is literally just cheap, shallow fan service.
Dude, you're back in Raccoon City. Memorabilia is gonna be fucking everywhere in there.
Yeah, I will actually have to agree with Gara here again. I personally had no issue with the member berries. I don't know. Like, I thought they were pretty cool. Although I did think Capcom was definitely too on the nose with some of them. Like, Leon saying, I remember that too, was pretty cringe.
Then the pacing goes to complete shit as you're given a Leon tutorial level, which is admittedly much more fun than the walking simulator part.
So let me get this straight.
You acknowledge that Leon's part right there is actually a tutorial part, but you're not going to give the same courtesy to Grace. You do realize that both the segments are almost in the same length, right?
You really are stupid, ain't you?
Yeah, no, I'm calling bullshit on that one. Almost the same length. Yeah, no, maybe if Leon's segment was 25 minutes and Grace's segment was 30. But no, Leon's segment is maybe a third of the length of Grace's, which is maybe 10 minutes at best. And that's if we're being generous. Now, in the second half, you definitely play as Leon a lot more, with you playing as Grace less. But no, in the first half of the game, I would say you play as Grace far more, and in the intro section, the amount of time you play as Leon is not for very long.
They figured they wanted to avoid the Resident Evil 6 effect and decided to dial things back a little bit, because Grace is a complete pussy. As a character, she's annoying as fuck.
Yep, there's a synthetic man that I know. Yep, I should have guessed this was gonna happen as soon as he started ranting and raving and started to solo out Grace.
What, are you gonna say he's sexist or some shit?
Basically an autistic coward, which I guess represents most DEI hires in the FBI these days.
What do you want her to be? No, seriously, what do you expect this person to be? This high-functioning person that can beat all the zombies in one punch? That would make her a Mary Sue.
Well, if we're being honest, I would definitely say Resident Evil has plenty of those, but I guess it is in line with the franchise. But I guess I will be fair to the writers. In that scenario, I definitely think a woman would be very scared, so it is a realistic depiction, but with that being said, they did sacrifice her gameplay so she would seem really scared, and honestly, yeah, she just plays like shit, as I said earlier.
There are very few enemy types in this game in general, which, as I've stated many times over the years, I am baffled that normies have no problem doing the same thing.
Yeah, Synthetic, I don't think you got room to talk on that one when you're a Dragon Ball Breakers enjoyer. Yeah, you got no room to talk.
Yeah, dude, I can't refute the points he's making, so let me just divert attention away to a game he plays. Wow, dude, lay heckin' owned.
I tried every single one of these, and not only did I think that they were all delicious, I also loved how creamy and smooth the drink's texture was. I actually looked forward to drinking Soylent every day.
I'm kind of an anti-parry guy in modern gaming because it's such a common mechanic these days, but I think for Resident Evil, it works weirdly well. Having a way to defend yourself when the enemy's getting close is always good.
So now parrying is good because Leon can use it to defend himself from enemies?
Well, I'd say it helps that parrying is completely optional in RE9. I personally can't actually think of a single time in the game where I did parry, but if we look at recent releases like Expedition 33, for example, which is a turn-based game, if you don't parry in that game, you'll just die. I mean, it's literally the most central combat mechanic in that game, but when it comes to RE9, you really don't have to parry at all, so yeah, that's kind of where the difference comes in, where in a lot of other games, parrying is mandatory. In RE9, you really don't have to do it if you don't want to.
She stutters in almost every single sentence. I remember complaining back when RE7 came out that Ethan was too much of a normie for Resident Evil, because Resident Evil is not about normal people. It's about seemingly normal people who become mega badasses over the course of the story.
This is her first time, like Ethan in Resident Evil 7.
Like I've said before, I personally have no issue with Grace being scared as a character, but in Claire, Leon, Jill, and Chris's original games, I would say they were badass, so yeah, I mean, you know, it can be their first time, and they can still be badass characters. But also, I just have to mention that, honestly, they don't have to keep introducing these new characters, because, let's be honest, I would say the big reason this game sold is because of Leon, and I don't really think anyone cares about these new characters, so yeah, I don't know. And it's probably the same reason why Chris was in RE8, so they obviously know that these original characters sell well, and I mean, those are the characters people just want to see.
I mean, Leon himself is the perfect example. In RE2, it was his first day on the job as a police officer, but even Ethan, by the end of Village, became a badass in his own right, whereas Grace is an FBI agent and can't do jack shit. Yes, I'm well aware the FBI has non-field agents. I'm sure Grace is one of the feds who's collecting every synth cell's personal information during the streams.
So let me get this straight. She's not a field agent, right? She's a pencil pusher. And you're comparing her to Leon, that was a cop that was trained to shoot and kill people. Do you see the problem now? Do you see the glaring issues? You see how stupid your comparison is?
Is it just me, dude, or does it sound like Garaa gets really mad with each thing he says, which, I mean, it's just a YouTube video, dude, so yeah, it's really not that deep, and you don't have to get that angry over it. But as far as the characters go, Ethan was simply just a husband, and again, like I said earlier, his playstyle was completely fine in RE7, and, well, Grace is an FBI agent, so I don't know, there's a little bit of a difference there, and if Ethan played fine in RE7, I think personally Grace should play completely fine, but yeah, as I said before, she really does not play that great.
Also, you had a better comparison with Ethan and Grace there, but bit of a spoiler, this is her first fucking game. So why is Ethan getting a leeway like he did in his first game?
Because again, Ethan had a far better play style, so yeah, I don't know, it's really not that hard to understand.
He was a fucking mess too. And so was Leon in RE2. He made so many, like, you know, like, whiny jokes. It's like, are you fucking kidding me?
Are you a functional retard? I have to ask.
No, what are you talking about? There's not even a singular comparison between Leon in RE2 and Grace in RE9. Now, if you want to make the distinction of how a man and a woman would react in that scenario, you know, yeah, that would make sense. So, yeah, I do think Grace is how a woman would react in that sort of horror scenario, video, but with that being said, no, there is no comparison between Leon and Grace in that situation. They acted completely different.
Remember that line when the Mr. X came for his ass? Remember that?
Yeah, because that's absolutely the same as screaming and stuttering.
I know there's gonna be dishonest tards. You're gonna say I'm being a hypocrite or have double standards because, you know, I like Jill or Claire or Rebecca or Ada when those should be girl bosses and woke by my own definition or something stupid like that.
Oh, do you guys hear little synthetic man? He's upset because he's being a hypocritical double standards fucktard. Aw, he must be really upset. Aw.
Your life is nothing. You serve zero purpose. You should kill yourself now and give somebody else a piece of that oxygen and ozone layer that's covered up so that we can breathe inside this blue trapped bubble.
Holy shit, man. I honestly don't think I could even attempt to be this condescending.
Hey, you know what, Synthetic Man? Maybe you shouldn't set rules that are gonna eventually come back and swim up and bite you in the fucking ass.
Don't be disingenuous. We all know the difference between the OG female Resident Evil characters and Western girl bosses.
But it's obvious that these characters were not made to be girl bosses. They were made because the Japanese thought it would be cool and sexy to have this badass woman who survives this horrific zombie outbreak.
If you're talking about Ada, sure. But if you're talking about Jill, that text that you put in before where that she's technically a woke character really doesn't fit that narrative. You may want to back that up.
So it looks like he's being completely disingenuous again. Either that or he can't read, which actually that would make sense for Gaara. But yeah, in that text, he specifically mentioned RE3 Remake, which if you've played RE3 Remake, you would know that Jill feels like a completely different character in that game. Just take a look at this clip.
Alright, Super Cop. Here you go. We can use this to stay in contact.
I know what a radio is.
And well, if you've played the other Resident Evil games, you would know that Jill was never condescending or even mean. She was mostly just distrustful of Carlos because of his connection to Umbrella in the original, so yeah, no. It's completely out of line with her character.
But there's a massive fucking plot hole here that I'm surprised I haven't heard anyone else mention. If Leon and Sherry are getting symptoms of the T-virus right now, then why the hell is Chris, Barry, Rebecca, and Jill still alive?
Chris never officially got the infection as far as I remember with my RE lore.
Yes, Chris never got officially infected, but neither did Leon or Claire. In fact, the only one out of the main four who did get directly infected was Jill. So if Leon got infected with this long T virus, I guess you could say, then Chris should have too. And since he was in the mansion months before Leon was in Raccoon City, then logic would say that he would probably be dead by now.
Second, Jill is largely immune to the T-virus because she got infected with the NAT parasite in RE3. Then later on, she got a vaccine which actually helped her develop antibodies.
And he actually does argue shortly after that Jill could very well be the exception because of the vaccine she got, but I guess you conveniently cut that part out, right?
And thirdly, Rebecca has natural immunity to the T-virus.
You still haven't made a good argument for Chris and Barry.
4, what was it? Sherry over here has the G virus in her.
And Sherry still got the long T coof. How does that help your point?
And 5, well, our boy Leon, he's had his T virus dormant for like the past 20 years, along with his resistance to it. Yeah, well, guess what? We're starting to see the effects when you start to get older and your body starts to break down.
Yeah, and Leon was at death's door at the end of RE9. So yes, again, logically, Chris should be dead.
And I want to point out something that several other YouTubers have been noticing lately. Apparently this design of 50-year-old Leon was consulted on by actual women at Capcom, so it's completely fine to make a character for the female gaze, but not the male gaze. You know, Grace is this autistic spurg with no tits, no ass, But Leon can be a thirst trap, and am I the only one who finds it disturbing? These are all women like 20 years younger than him who want to fuck him. Yeah, then again, I shouldn't be surprised.
You have Jill. You have Ada. Really? Are we just gonna completely forget about those characters that got remakes recently?
Are you dumb, stupid, or dumb?
Yeah, because these two designs very clearly have the exact same intended appeal.
Grace finally leaves the hospital and has to side with a black man. This pilot is the only human black guy in the game that I noticed, and he dies in like 5 minutes, so is Capcom secretly based? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not pulling the pin on that grenade.
What, Gaara? Are you afraid of being racist?
That's racist!
Now, there has been a discussion of some other chud-coded channels that have talked about this is proof that remakes are erasing the original games, because all of Leon's memories are the RE2 remake version of the events. Now, to me, this is not surprising at all, because Capcom has actually come out and said that they think the remakes completely replace the originals, which is why they haven't put the OG RE games on GOG.
Oh, you're telling me a corporation never cared about the original games at first, but then when they get backlash, now they're forced into a situation to actually care and release the original games? Shocker. On top of that, too, you do realize that little text right there isn't going to save you. Like, you understood that they were released, and you didn't decide, why don't I just go ahead and just delete this dumbass segment right here? But you kept it in for some odd reason.
Well, I do know you like to be disingenuous, Gaara, so yeah, I guess you would completely miss the point, but the point being made, again, is that Capcom thinks the remakes replace the originals, which they did say themselves, and yes, releasing the originals on a digital platform is a good way to make money. I mean, just look at Nintendo releasing Pokemon on the Nintendo eShop. Sure, maybe Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee replaced the original games, but with that being said, releasing Fire Red and Leaf Green is still a great way to make money, so naturally that logic would follow with Capcom as well. But story-wise, yes, they do think the remakes replace the originals. That much is clear.
Also, for my audience members, if you haven't connected it together, he's an RE4 fanboy.
What? Wait, is there supposed to be something wrong with that? RE4 is easily one of the best Resident Evil games, or even the best, but honestly, it's pretty strong competition between the first 4.
But no, as it turns out, it's just a password. A password literally anyone could guess, by the way. It's just hope.
So let me ask you this real quickly. You see what the question is? Do you see the digital lines right there? Yeah, that's a lot more than just 4 letters.
And Spencer in the video calls Grace his hope, so I don't know, if you have 2 brain cells that bounce around in your skull that eventually collide to form a coherent thought, then you might be able to come to the conclusion, just maybe, that the password might just be hope.
You would be sitting there rattling your brain back and forth thinking, what would Spencer want? Like, he's saying, I wanted to become a god or something? Like,
you're an absolute genius, Gaara. I want to become a god would absolutely fit in a 17-letter space.
And this ties into arguably the worst retcon in the entire game, Oswald E. Spencer's redemption. Oswald Spencer, the guy who's killed millions of people over the course of the series with his development of the progenitor virus into the T virus, the G virus, T-Abyss virus, Ouroboros, etc., etc. And despite the fact in Resident Evil 5, we directly hear him say he wanted to be a god, one of the major twists of this game is no, Spencer regrets everything, and so we have to forgive him, dude, and he just so happened to adopt a girl that looked just like Chloe.
You know, this is the same madman, right? The same madman that said, I was to be a god, and then after, you know, sitting a while by himself, rotting away, probably becoming senile, then he decided to do this.
Okay, except you're completely ignoring the fact that Spencer goes from being comically evil to then suddenly feeling regret to then now wanting to become a god, which is just really inconsistent and really doesn't hold up. Now, maybe in a world where RE5 didn't exist, they could make a cool parallel to the story of Paul, you know, considering the fact that Japan are massive Westaboos and already have a reference to Noah's Ark in this game, but no, it really just comes off as stupid and, you know, not very consistent with Spencer's character, so yeah, they really did not handle that very well in this game, and it just feels like a massive retcon.
Teaches the worst possible lesson, that you can indirectly kill millions of people, you can torture children, but if you feel bad about it, and you create a universal cure for the viruses, and you adopt a normal girl, then it's all fine.
I want you to name one character or one NPC that went up to Spencer and forgave him for everything that he did.
He's referring to the player forgiving Spencer, you absolute halfwit. It's kind of implied in the game with the fact that Spencer feels regret, dude. I mean, it's really not that hard to wrap your head around.
Because even the lady that was interviewing her, you know, freaking Grace's mom, basically, or I think her name's Ashley. I can't remember right now. Like, refresh my memory.
Her name is Alyssa, by the way, and you could have looked that up and then re-recorded this segment as to not sound so retarded.
They bring back Sherry Birkin for an incredibly questionable reason that I'll get to in a second. Debating about is that it's heavily implied that Leon and Sherry are married, which is really strange given that she was a 12-year-old girl in Resident Evil 2 and Leon is in his 20s. Ada cucks keep losing.
It's a shout out to all the people like Synthetic Man over here thinks that Leon married Sherry. Here's a bit of a spoiler on this one. If you actually look carefully at the hands, you see Leon's hand over here. Yeah, his index finger, well, not his index finger, but his ring finger. Yeah, his ring is on his ring finger.
Dude, holy shit, this is the most retarded thing I've ever seen someone obsess over. Just because she has a ring on her pinky, that doesn't mean that she might not be married to Leon. Someone could, if they really wanted to, wear their wedding ring on their pinky. There's nothing preventing her from doing that, so honestly, this just sounds like some top-tier tism.
You know what, fam? I'm done. I'm done with Synthetic Man.
Nah, that's cap, buddy. You are absolutely not done with him. You will milk as many views from him as you can. And hey, I respect the grift because I can easily leech off of him and you as well. Anyway, that's the end of the video. And overall, I thought it was pretty entertaining to make a video on Garaa again. Obviously, I've got no hate for Garaa because we just do this YouTube shit for fun, right? But yeah, see everyone next time because I've definitely got something good planned for the next video. Anyway, bye.
Either subscribe, donate, or get the fuck out.